Okay, nothing original this week, just a mashup of a couple ideas I saw out there that I put together to come up with the thing that I was trying to do. I wanted a nice set of generic plateaus to use for my war games and also for my role-playing games to make like canyons and things like that. And I wanted them to look generic enough that they'd look good on any playmat, serve in any environment, so I was experimenting with paint schemes as well. And here's what I came up with. So the texturing of the sides of the hills to look like rocks came from a channel called Painting Is My Life. Not sure if it's defunct now, but there's a link in the description below. And as for the kinds of shapes to make, as well as the use of pebble piles, that came from Winter's SEO. Again, link in the description below. Two great ideas. Working with 1-inch thick extruded polystyrene, also known as home insulation, draw and cut out the desired shapes using your knife or a hot wire table. With your knife, strike at the side like this, about 3 to 5 times in a given area, and work your way around the whole slab like that. Then strike at it perpendicularly, about every centimeter or so, maybe varying the angle of the knife slightly. Then take your metal ruler or a dull butter knife, something like that, and rasp at the edges. You'll have to apply a bit of pressure, but you can see the material start to shred and chunk away immediately. Use your hand to just clean up and knock off any loose bits. And voila, you get a nice exposed stone substrate look. For attaching pieces together, hot glue. No messing around, no need for toothpicks, just some lines of hot glue, very strong bond, instant, move right along with the project. Nice thick undiluted coat of white PVA glue. Elmer's Glue All does just fine. And cover with sand. This is Quikrete construction sand, which is a nice mixture of very fine to very coarse aggregate. 50-pound bag was about $4, lifetime supply. Then go ahead and squeeze some pools of white glue up against the level changes, like this, and dump some aquarium pebbles on them. Let it dry overnight, just give it a full 12 hours. Black bomb with cheap acrylic craft paint. I prefer Americana. And then gray. Plain old Craft Smart gray. No working up from darker grays, no washes, no messing about, just gray. We're just going to dry brush this on. Load the brush with paint and then work most of that paint right off on the palette, like you see me doing here. And then begin lightly attacking the piece. Actually, you can strike at the sides pretty strongly, you'll want some decent coverage there, but all the horizontal sanded surfaces, start lightly and give it a light, even dusting, and go at different angles to help with the uniformity. Now again, dry brushing, but this time with golden brown, and we're only going to strike a few spots. This is just to give a hint of color, a hint of variation. It's subtle, but it makes a difference. And lastly, optional, plain white. Again, a dry brush, but this is incredibly light. In fact, I really only nick the tops of the pebble piles and maybe a couple strikes on the sand, but I can't emphasize this enough. Go light. Dry brushing with white can easily get away from you and overpower all your undertones, and you end up with a dusty looking mess. This is a subtle, subtle application. And finally got some moss from the crafting store. Going to use this tan colored stuff and just pick a few spots where the level changes and hot glue a tuft on there. Alright guys, now stick with me here through the end. I'm going to show you some construction photos and then I'm going to show you what I mean by these fitting on any surface. So here's they are. This is the sand drying. Do assembly line these. It's good for your mental health. Here they are finished, all laid out. This is all of them. They've served me well, so if you want to see what a complete set looks like, that Space Marine is on a 32mm base for scale. Here's a close-up of the different geometries and different sizes. Mix it up. Again, Winter's SEO. Got to thank him for that awesome video. Here it is on an alpine, like tundra mat. This is one of my frontline gaming mats. Love my frontline gaming mats. You can see they match that poke through that rock that's on the ground. So they look great here. While we're at it, I figured I'd just throw some models down and show you. The height really adds a lot to the game. Once I built these, our games got much more interesting, I think. Here's a close-up of a stepped, bigger one. And get creative, you know, stack them. Here's an overpass kind of thing, and the figures fit underneath, so you can get even more scenic. Here it is on meadows. Great contrast here, I think. You can imagine like canyons or a lush valley or something like that. And don't be afraid to group these together like I have here to make even bigger masses of cliffs. You know, if you push them together at just the right angle, you'll always find that they kind of, even if you didn't plan it, there's some that'll just fit together nicely. And here it is in a desert. Again, fits right in, especially with those tufts. So this is arranged in a canyon, like a gauntlet, or maybe there's an ambush that's going to happen. And this is one of their newer ones, Irradiated Plains. Love it. Just got it a few weeks ago, and it is really, really cool. It's very vibrant in person. I'm using a terrible camera. All this stuff is very vibrant in person. It looks great. This is actually just before we were about to kick off a game of Grimdark Future. My wife and I were going to play. Those little portals and the giant crystals, those were in recent episodes. I forget which one. I'll throw a card on the screen if you're interested in making those. So this was Eldar vs. Necron. And I figure while we're here, you've gone this far, I might as well show off my recently finished Tyranid army. So again, Irradiated Plains, frontline gaming mats. Love them. A lot of airbrush work on these, and I tried a satin varnish instead of matte. I know that's the conventional wisdom, and I've always used matte, but I figured they're bugs, and maybe if they looked greasy or slimy or something, it might work. And in real life, I think it does. This camera picks up a little bit of extra shine. They're not as shiny as they appear to be. And my Hive Tyrant kind of messed up the wings out here. I got overspray all over the fingers there on the outside of the wing. But again, the height of these adds a lot to the game. My buddy who's played for like 20 years, but not really into terrain, and I'm the opposite, I'm new, but really into terrain, has really praised these, taking our games to the next level. For all you 3D printers out there, don't forget to check out Heroes Horde, where you can get true tiles models, as well as a ton of other excellent fantasy-related scenery. I am Wyloch, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.